Chapter 1. The Return. The train rolled slowly along the gloomy horizon, covered with heavy clouds. Fields flashed by outside the window, as if tarnished by time, gray as ashes. Marina sat with her forehead pressed against the glass and looked at the approaching landscape, so familiar and so alien. She had not seen the house in the village of Glebovka for almost 10 years. The last time I was there was when my grandmother was buried. Then everything looked simpler. Bright summer, the smell of fresh hay, my father was still smiling, and my mother was standing on the porch. No, my mother had already disappeared. She was still confusing events. Her mother's departure, her grandmother's funeral, her first escape from home. Now my father is gone. Heart attack at night. Vlasov's neighbor found him in the morning, sitting in an armchair in the studio, in front of an unfinished portrait. The portrait was empty, only the background and a hint of a figure. No one knew who was supposed to be depicted. Marina read the short letter sent by the lawyer again. According to Pavel Nikolaevic's will, all property passes to you. We kindly ask you to arrive as soon as possible to process your cases. No regrets, no warm words, only the legal cold. She got off the train at a stop. The station had long been overgrown with grass. The lanterns were not lit. The lone taxi driver nodded at her, as if he knew who she was. However, there are no strangers in such places. To Glebovka? I asked, without even specifying the address. Yes. To Pavel Nikolaevic's old house. So you're his daughter, he said, and abruptly started the engine. The road was deserted, and the trees stretched up to the sky as if they were praying for something. The car shuddered at every bump. Marina was silent. I didn't want to talk or think. When the house appeared, my heart sank. It stood on a hill, as before, with peeling plaster and dark windows that looked like empty eye sockets. Only the attic was dimly lit. Why was it burning? Are you sure there's no one in the house? What is it? She asked softly. The taxi driver shrugged his shoulders. No one came in or out. Maybe the lights are still on, although the electricity is often weird here. Marina paid, took her suitcase and went up the overgrown path to the door. Heavy, oak, with a forged handle. Just like when I was a kid. She touched it and shuddered. The door was ajar. The creaking sounded like a groan in the silence of the night. The house seemed to be waiting for her. Or lured. Chapter 2. Shadows of the Past. The house smelled of dust, wax, and something else, a slightly sweet, sticky, familiar smell that Marina couldn't remember, but she knew for sure. Either the mother's perfume, or the dried flowers. She went inside, and the door creaked behind her, as if someone had deliberately closed it. Everything was almost untouched. In the living room there was the same sofa with faded cushions, a piano with the me key taped over, a stack of magazines on the coffee table. The last one dated 2004. There were pictures of my father on the wall, the same portraits without faces. He often painted people, but he never finished the eyes. He said that the soul was not ready to enter the canvas yet. Marina went into the dining room. The tablecloth is covered with dust, and there are cracks on the walls. Only the clock above the buffet was ticking properly, as if not even a day had passed since her last visit. Suddenly, there was a soft sound, a click, as if someone had passed by a light switch. The light in the hallway flickered. Who's there? Her voice sounded hollow and uncertain. There was no response. But the silence suddenly became too tense, like before a thunderstorm. Marina took a lantern from the windowsill and went up to the second floor. Each step echoed in the wooden steps with a hoarse groan. My father's room was neat. The books were standing straight. The blanket was folded. On the table are his glasses, a cup of dried tea and an album. Opening it, Marina saw sketches. The figure of a veiled woman, a view from the back. The face is hidden. The same pose is used in all variations. There are inscriptions under the drawings. She's nearby.
Don't open the door.
Stop them before they start. She slammed the album shut, feeling goosebumps rise on her skin. There was a sudden rustle from the next room. It was as quiet as if someone had walked barefoot on a carpet. Marina slowly approached the door to her mother's room. It was boarded up with crisscross boards. Who did this? The father. A faint golden light shone through the cracks between the boards. And in this light, there is movement.
Marina saw a silhouette.
Female. She froze. The figure stood motionless, then slowly turned around, but the face was still not visible. The next moment, the light went out. Everything was gone. Marina recoiled, her heart pounding. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to catch her breath. There was something glittering on the floor, a small hairpin. The one her mother wore when she taught her how to braid her hair.
Trattino basso 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 tra.
She didn't sleep much that night. She was awakened by creaking floorboards, strange sighs outside the walls, and what sounded like footsteps in the attic. And towards morning she had a dream. She stands in front of the mirror, and the reflection in it is her mother.
Only with my father's eyes.
Chapter 3. The Old Room. The morning greeted her with a clouded sky and silence. Even the birds seemed to avoid the house. Marina stood at the window and looked at the maple tree that grew in the yard, the one under which her mother planted lilies of the valley. Now the maple tree was creaking like an old man, and the flowers had disappeared without a trace. She couldn't get her mother's tightly boarded-up door out of her head. Who did this and why? Why did my father, living here alone, never remove the boards? After a short breakfast of coffee and crackers from an old buffet, Marina armed herself with a tire iron. It was easy to find her. She was lying at the entrance to the basement, as if waiting. The boards gave way with effort, and the nails creaked as if in protest. When the last board collapsed, there was a smell of dust, dried flowers, and jasmine.
Madresse perfume.
The room seemed frozen in time. There are combs, perfumes, a mirror, and old powder on the dressing table. In the corner there is an armchair covered with a rug. On the windowsill is a dried up wreath of wildflowers. And the main thing is a large mirror in a carved frame. The surface is murky, as if the depths of something reflected not reality, but memory.
Marina come closer.
Her silhouette is in the reflection. But not only that.
There is a shadow in the corner behind my back.
Fast, gliding, like the movement of a curtain. She turned around and saw no one.
Something glinted on the floor under the bed. Marina bent down and pulled out a dusty box.
There are letters inside. A bundle tied with a blue ribbon.
She untied one.
Pavel, you don't understand what you've done. That veiled woman is not forgiving. It doesn't just come, it lives in us. We became part of her circle. I tried to leave, but she always finds a way. If I disappear, don't look for me. Save the children. Take care of the mirrors. Marina read it 3 times. The veiled woman. Mirrors. The disappearance. It all fit. And everything fell apart. She touched the mirror. The surface suddenly vibrated like water, and for a moment she saw her mother instead of herself, sitting in an armchair, with her hair pinned up and her eyes closed. The woman suddenly opened her eyes and looked directly at Marina. She staggered back and fell to the floor. When she got up, the reflection became normal again. A knock. 1. Clear. It was like something had hit the window from the outside. Marina slowly approached and looked out. In the snow, and it hasn't snowed yet this morning. There was a woman in a veil. It was impossible to see his face through the fabric. But she stood there, not moving, and then went to the house. Marina rushed downstairs, but there was no one in the courtyard.
No footprints. No snow.
Just the scent of jasmine hanging in the air, like an elusive reminder. You're home, and you're not alone. Chapter 4. The Diary. The night passed in an anxious half-doze. The curtains moved like a breath, and the floor creaked as if someone were walking on it barefoot. Marina turned on the light in the hallway and did not turn it off until morning. At first light, she went to her father's workshop. The door to it had always been locked, but now it was ajar, as if he had left for a while and was about to return. The room was filled with the smell of oil paints and solvent. There are unfinished portraits on the walls. All the same people without faces, with empty eyes, with outstretched hands. One painting was covered with a cloth. Marina pushed it back and froze.
Sciesse on the canvas.
Clearly, recognizably. The smile she had once hated because she looked like her mother. But the eyes were someone else's. Deep, as if they reflected the darkness.
In the drawer under the easel, she found a thin leather-bound notebook.
I opened it. My father's familiar handwriting. My mind is getting weak. But I have to leave it. For her. For Marina. I failed to protect Lida. She became a part of the circle, like a grandmother, like Lida's mother. It's not a curse. It's a contract. A ritual performed by women of our blood many years ago. To save their lives, they gave away images. And the veiled woman is the keeper of images.
She doesn't kill.
She does the laundry.
You forget who you were.
They remember you, but you don't remember yourself. That's how Lida disappeared. That's how she disappears.
If you don't break the circle. Marina scrolled onorevole.
Mirrors are gates. Images can be returned through them. But the price is a reflection.
Never look too long. Never be alone in the moonlight.
There was a drawing at the end of the diary. Symbol, a circle divided into 3 parts, with 3 eyes inside, and the words in Latin, memoria,
Umbra. Vita.
memory,
Shadow.
life. Marina got up and went to the large mirror in the workshop. I looked closer. In the reflection, the room seemed a little different. The colors are dimmer. The walls are closer. She saw herself. But for a second, the reflection smiled when she didn't. She took a step back. My heart was pounding.
And suddenly, a rustle bent my back.
She turned around and saw a figure in the doorway.
A woman.
But not the veil. It was Anna, her sister. "Hello, Marina," she said calmly. "I think we both got an invitation." Chapter 5. Mirrors. Anna stood on the threshold like a ghost of the past. There was something faded in her gaze, as if long years of living in the distance had erased the colors from her eyes. The same straight back, the same chin movement as the mother's. They haven't seen each other for a long time. Emails were rare, and calls were even rarer. Everyone avoided memories as infected things. "I got the letter," Anna said, putting her bag in the hallway. "From the notary." And the second, without a signature. There was only a symbol, the same as in the diary. Marina nodded and showed the diary. The sisters read the excerpts in silence. Neither of them was surprised. "Have you seen her?" Anna asked. "Yes. In the mirror. And in the yard. And you?" Anna nodded. "On the train. Instead of a guide." I didn't understand right away. Only when she disappeared, leaving behind the scent of jasmine. Marina felt something shift inside her, as if their meeting was not accidental, but part of something bigger. Something that had been prepared for a long time. They walked through the house, hardly talking. The old mirrors hung in the same places. In the hallway, in the living room, in the stairwell. Some were covered with cloth. Do you remember, Mom said that mirrors absorb views? Anna said, stopping in front of one of them. She didn't call them reflections, she called them views. Something that looks at you, not you at it. Marina ran her fingers over the silvery surface.
Ice ran over my skin.
My father wrote in his diary that they are the gates.
Do you think this is the way to break the circle?
Anna took a package out of her bag. It contains a photo album.
Old. Maternal.
I found it by chance when I was sorting through things in the apartment. For some reason, it was among my books, even though I didn't take it. Look at this. In one of the pictures, a young mother stands at the same mirror. Behind her is the figure of a veil. She hadn't been noticed before. On the other is my grandmother. And again, the same figure.
It's happening all over again, Marina whispered.
And it seems that every time someone disappears. They went up to the attic. It was cold out there. There is another cloth-covered mirror in the far corner. Anna reached for him, but Marina grabbed her arm.
Wait a minute.
If he warned,
maybe that is what she is waiting for.
Or maybe it's the only window back, Anna said. Maybe we shouldn't hide. Marina nodded and, together with her sister, took off the cloth.
The mirror was alive.
There's a room inside, but not the one they were standing in. Cozy, warm. There's a mother on the chair. She was knitting, as she used to do a long time ago. She was smiling. Then she looked up. And she spoke. Soundlessly.
Anna snuggled closer.
She says,
don't be afraid.
Anne,
let the image come back.
At that moment, the lamp in the attic went out. Everything was plunged into darkness. And in the mirror, the mother got up and went to them. But not from the inside. The reflection came forward, and for a moment it seemed that she was already on this side.
Suddenly the glass cracked.
The sisters jumped back. And then the mirror exploded from the inside, not loudly, but as if it had opened like a shell. Only the veil remained on the floor. Anna picked it up, and suddenly that motherly smile appeared on her face.
Marina froze.
How do you feel? What is it? She asked. Anna looked at her, and there were two souls in her gaze. Chapter 6. Dreams. They slept on an old sofa in the living room, next to each other. They were both exhausted, as if they'd been swimming through someone else's memory for a long time. The night was too dark, with no moon, no stars. The house seemed to be hiding. Even the clock stopped ticking. Marina dreamed of running down a long corridor lined with mirrors. Her every step was reflected with a slowdown, like in viscous water. She screamed, but her voice faded into silence. There's a mirror at the end of the hallway. And it's not her in it, but her mother in her youth, with tear-stained eyes. The figure of the veil stood nearby, stroking her shoulder. Marina reached for her mother, but the glass wouldn't budge. Then she hit him with her hand. And I woke up, with a split palm. Anna, she whispered, waking her sister. Anna jumped up. She was still wearing the same veil, as if she hadn't taken it off since the evening. Her eyes were different, too calm. Do you remember everything? Marina asked. Almost, she replied. Some things come back not with words, but with images. Like a smell, like pain. They went into the kitchen. Marina cleaned the cut, and Anna silently looked out the window. Suddenly she said, do you remember how Mom told a story about 3 sisters and a woman who wore other people's faces? It wasn't a fairy tale, Marina whispered. It was a warning. They went up to their mother's room. Everything was as it had been the day before, except that the mirror was fogged up, as if someone had breathed on it from the inside. There are barely discernible inscriptions on the surface. At first they were illegible, but gradually they appeared, as if someone had written on the fogged glass with their finger. The third is you. Break the circle. Remember. Anna touched the glass. It wavered. For a split second, they both saw themselves again, the girls playing in the garden. Mom rocks them on the swing. Grandma collects mint. Everything is sunny and carefree. But on the edge, in the shadow of an apple tree, she is. The veil. Watching. We lived in this, Anna said. The whole childhood. But they were ousted. Maybe because children feel it, but they don't understand it. Marina hugged her sister. We can still stop it. Or finish, she corrected. At that moment, a door slammed loudly downstairs. The house shuddered. The sisters exchanged glances. Someone's here, Marina said. Or something went in. They went down. The hallway is empty. But there was an old portrait on the floor, one of his father's. He was upside down. Marina picked it up and almost dropped it. She was in the portrait, but without a face. Just the outlines, blurred. The reflection disappeared. Chapter 7. The Return of Anna. Anna was standing by the window in the living room, wrapped in a dark scarf, and the veil was now lying neatly folded on an armchair next to her. There was still a thick gray fog outside the window. He didn't move. He seemed frozen. Or watching. Marina was sitting on the floor by the fireplace, sorting through the letters from the box. They didn't talk. There was no sound in the house. Why did you leave then? Marina finally asked without looking up. Really? Not because of my studies. And not just because of Mom. Anna was silent for a long time. Because I already knew, she finally said. It's too early. When Mom disappeared, I saw everything. Marina slowly turned to her. Have you seen it? What? Anna closed her eyes. She was standing in front of the mirror. In that very room. I woke up at night from a strange sound. She was talking. But there was no one there. Just her and the mirror. Then the veil just came off the nail on the wall and settled on her shoulders. She didn't resist. It was as if she was waiting. And then, her reflection went deep into the mirror. But Mom remained standing. Without eyes. Without a face. Like my father's painting. She disappeared in the morning. They said she was gone. But I knew she wasn't leaving. She just disappeared. Marina listened, feeling a chill rise in her. Not fear but knowledge. She believed every letter. Why didn't you tell me? Because 3 days later I saw myself in the mirror. But not in the reflection. And in the depths. I was looking, and the other one was looking at me. And she was smiling. Anna stood up abruptly. I left so I wouldn't be next. But it didn't help. The veil is always waiting. She's waiting for you to start remembering. Marina came closer. But you came back. So you want to finish this? Anna looked at her. I came back because she let me. She wants us to make a choice. A choice. Anna nodded. Someone has to stay. And someone wants to return the reflection. It's always a couple. 2 sisters. 2 souls. 1 lap. Marina felt like everything was cracking inside. Everything she knew about the world, about herself, about her family was crumbling. We can refuse. Together. Anna lowered her gaze. Maybe not. Maybe one of us has already chosen. After all, if you're back, and I'm back, too, then one of us isn't quite who she was. Marina froze. And then the mirror in the corner lit up from the inside. It contains their children's room. 2 girls. One looks in the mirror. The second one is a reflection that does not repeat the movements of the first one. Chapter 8. A conversation with a neighbor. The morning was strangely bright, as if the house had decided to give itself a break. Marina went outside, breathing in the cool air. The sky was still gray, but the wind was stirring the grass, and there was something earthly about that stirring. Present. She went to Vlasov's house. He lived across the street in an old one-story house with a peeling porch. The old man was sitting there, as usual, in a wicker chair and smoking a cigarette. "Ah, Marina Pavlovna," he said without looking at her. "I was wondering when you'd come." She sat down opposite, not surprised. "Did you know what was going on here?" He took a drag and only then answered, "I didn't know, but I felt it. Since childhood. Your house. It's different. He's breathing. He looks." Marina looked at him attentively. He spoke calmly, without theatrics. "As for the weather, tell me." "Oh." The old man sighed. "Even before the war, a woman lived here. The one who wore a black veil. Everyone thought she was a widow, but her husband was still alive. And then, people started disappearing. Women first. Then there are those who tried to look for them. But they weren't murders. It was an erasure. Then your grandmother got it. No one knows how, but after that, that woman disappeared. And your grandmother has become very silent." Marina swallowed. "Is it a curse?" "It's a contract," Vlasov replied. "They used to say in the village, if you give away an image, they remember you, but you don't remember yourself. If you refuse, you lose everything. She lives in mirrors. A veil is not a garment. This is a filter. Behind it is the face of someone who has forgotten his own. Has anyone broken this circle? There was one guy. Loved a girl from your family. He said he'd get her out. I wrote her name in the mirror. And then, they found him without a name. Without documents. Without a tongue. He was just there, but he wasn't anyone. I sat in the corner and looked at the glass. Marina felt her insides constrict. And now what? Vlasov looked her straight in the eye. It's just the two of you now. This is the key. Only the mirror accepts the pair. One gives, the other remembers. If you agree, you can bring back the one she took. But someone has to stay in the reflection. Forever. He paused. Your mother. She didn't disappear. She saved you. Now it's your turn. Marina walked back as if in a trance. Vlasov's words were like a trace on the water. They did not disappear, but blurred, penetrating deeply inside. Anna was waiting for her on the porch. "Do you know everything?" "What is it?" she asked softly. Marina nodded. "One question. Which of us is ready to become a reflection?" Chapter 9. Veil and Blood. The house was breathing again, but in a different way. It was as if he exhaled, preparing to make a decision, or pass sentence. Marina and Anna laid out everything they found on the living room table. Her father's diary, her mother's letters, a mirror taken from the attic, and a veil. She lay as if alive, her fabric barely moving from an invisible draft. "Do you feel it?" Anna whispered. "It's like she's already here." "She always has been," Marina replied. "In us. In the mirrors. In memory." They lit candles in the corners of the room, as described in the diary. The symbol of the Trinity, Memoria, Umbra, Vita, was carved on a wooden board and placed between them. Anna put on her veil. Her eyes disappeared into the semi-darkness, and her face became abstract, like an image on an old icon. "I'll go first," she said. "No." Marina shook her head. "You've already refused once. Now I." Anna squeezed her hand. "I did not refuse. I survived. But if you go in, you won't be able to come back. It's like stepping into water where there's no bottom. And if no one enters, The circle will start anew. Someone else, maybe my daughter, maybe your son, will end up here. Then the mirror trembled. The surface spread apart like an oil film, and the interior space was revealed. It wasn't a reflection. It was a different reality. There's a white room. In the center is the mother. Lively. She was holding 2 dolls in her hands. One was missing a face.
The veil, Anna whispered.
She offers a choice. The mother looked up. Daughters.
My reflections.
I couldn't help it. In order for you to live, someone had to forget themselves.
Now you remember.
But I'm not.
Bring me back, or save yourself. Marina stepped forward.
The mirror sucked her in like water. She felt the cold wrap around her arms, seep into her chest, into her memory. The veil fell over her shoulders. Anna screamed, but without making a sound. My mother looked at me with gratitude. And suddenly, the mirrors all over the house burst at the same time. Images flew out of each one. Women,
Girls. The old women.
hundreds of faces. They swirled in the air like a cloud of forgotten souls. One of them is a real mother.
A real mother, without a veil.
She was crying. Anna was left alone. I was standing in the living room among the pieces.
Marina disappeared.
There was no body, no trace. Only in the mirror there is a new reflection, where a veiled woman stood. She looked as if through a sheet of water, and smiled. Chapter 10.
The denouement.
It's been 3 weeks. Anna lived in the house alone. The house no longer creaked. In the mirrors, the reflections were correct.
No shadows.
Not a fake. She often sat by the window and looked at that maple tree. The lilies of the valley began to make their way out of the ground again. As if someone remembered. Marina did not return. But she was everywhere. Sometimes, passing by the mirror, Anna felt a slight movement. Not scary. Rather, it's like a breeze. It was as if someone was smiling at her from afar. She was talking to this presence. Not with words, but with feelings. And I knew Marina hadn't disappeared. She became a keeper of memory, but not the same as the veil was.
And the other one.
One day she went to Vlasov's again.
Is it finished?
What is it? She asked. Over is not the right word, he replied. The circle has become different.
Someone entered it out of love, not out of fear.
Anna nodded.
So no one else will disappear.
As long as the memory is alive. Until someone forgets themselves again for the sake of others. He handed her an old, battered book. It's your turn to write. Anna opened the first page. Empty. Then she returned to the house. I sat down by that very window. And she began to write. I am Anna.
Lydia esse daughter. Marina esse sister.
We lived in a house where reflections breathe. Where memory is not a burden, but a gift.
Where the veil no longer hides the face.
Where sacrifice is not the end, but a choice.
And when I look in the mirror, is here.
And myself.
Inseparable.